Cheers, welcome to my channel. This is a timely tarot oracle reading about random shift. If you resonate with the title and or the thumbnail, this is the perfect reading for you, delivered at the perfect time through the power of synchronicity. Also, this is a timely reading, meaning if you are watching it at this time, it is the perfect time for you. Having said that, if it's been a while since you saw this, what was going on in your life back then, since I posted it, I meant, that could give you further clarity as to your situation now. I did a little bit of meditating before this reading. Sometimes I have time to do that and feel in the mood. The underlying energy that came out for this reading is the Ace of Pentacles, and Ace of Pentacles is having a reward from the divine and the universe for following your path of glory and being on your divine path to the best of your ability. A lot of people will say, I don't know what my purpose is. Basically, everyone's purpose is to be the best version of you that you can be and, make the world a better place. All right, so this is a reward for following your North Star. Your North Star energy is when you're following that destined path, the North Node. Also, I pulled this card for from my Oracle, Tales from the Vector. I started this in 2007. In 2020, hi Stella. In 2020, I completed all the paintings, and this is actually a reproduction of one of the paintings. This is from the series from visions I had when I was in Peru in ceremony with shamans, and this is about intent. It's one of the karmic spaces, and this is my little dog Ella. When I was leaving the jungle to go to Machu Picchu, I don't know, on the flight there, all of a sudden I just started weeping and I couldn't stop. And then my companion said to me, oh my goodness, it's been exactly 1 year to the day that I had to let my dog go and take her to the vet and have her euthanized. She wasn't experiencing a good, comfortable life anymore. And her name was Ella the Enchanting. And she was a little Tibetan Terrier. And she appeared in my visions and in all these different colors. And she was showing me how she was in the mountains now. Tibetan Terriers are mountain dogs. And, the monks used to have them. And they were considered like special gifts. They would call them the little people. And she was given as a gift to me. And she was such a sweet dog and, just the most lovable little thing. And the Tibetans the Tibetan monks considered them to be, they called them the little people. And they considered them to be a gift of great fortune. If you received a Tibetan Terrier, it was an honor that was considered to be a very high honor to be gifted with one of these dogs. And she was a beautiful gift. But that was interesting how she showed up. And I could not figure out why I was feeling so emotional. And until, it was January 6th. All right. So, yeah, that's kind of an interesting story. So the road, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Sometimes we get pets and we have really good intentions. And then there's some people out there, the lowest of the low, that do not have good intentions to animals. And, that's one of the, people who, are not kind to animals. And, and people who know they're not being kind to animals, allowing it to continue. It's hard to understand that. God gave us dominion over the animals of the earth, and that dominion didn't mean to dominate them. It meant to protect them. So she's showing up in this reading. Actually, when her energy is pretty intense here. She was so sweet. Anyway, I'll get on with the reading. And then this is talking about a mental prison. So yeah, the mental prison is when you have to make a really difficult decision that you really, really, really don't want to make. And that would be about this one here. If you've ever had a pet and you've had, they've been in your family and they're part of your family, and then it comes time that you have to let them go because it's the kinder thing. They're old or they're not healthy and there's nothing that can be done for them anymore, and they're not enjoying a good quality of life anymore. That would represent this. This is like a mental prison. So I guess that's why this card came out. And this energy is, when someone is, they know they have to make a decision, but they feel duty bound to make, but they don't want to have to make it. They don't want to see it. And many times, like if we have pets and we really love them, it's amazing how we can look, just not see them failing. We don't want to see them failing. And then someone has to say, look, this animal needs to be released. They're in pain, and I used to own a dog boutique, and I would have to, I would be grooming these dogs for people for years and years. And I became attached to them also. And I would have to tell people, it's time. Like this animal is not enjoying this at all anymore. And I can really see that they're in pain. And so, it's a hard thing to deal with, but this is life sometimes. I don't know why it's coming up today. I don't see it as the anniversary of I've had many animals over the years, and I always have made it a point that if it's time for them to go, I always like to be holding them and be there with them. And this is talking about making those difficult decisions. It's challenging. It's really hard to do, but it's a beautiful gift to be there with them and to love them to the very, very end. And that is the type of this energy. Like this person is standing here, and they know they have to make a decision. The swords in tarot represent your mental intelligence, your discipline of your mind. Your thoughts. And so this energy is talking about, having to make a real tough decision, but not wanting to make it. The water here in tarot represents emotion. And I feel at the beginning of this, there was way more emotion here. This may even be the tears that they've cried to come to this decision. And the right foot is moving forward, but the left foot is still in the puddle. But she has gone through 8 swords here, 8 thoughts, eight ideas, and has come to the conclusion, okay, I have to make this move forward and cut, the binds off and take the blindfold off and make this decision and put it into action. And so sometimes this can involve really leaving your comfort zone, which represents her back to the castle behind her. And sometimes the thoughts of others as well. So, this is a pretty extreme case of that, but there are, when people are feeling in this energy, it may take a while for them to get through it and make that decision. Also, we have the 3 of Pentacles, which is talking about someone who's in an elevated position in their work, someone who's doing really, really well and standing out above others. That's what the bench represents. Now, quite often this can represent someone who's in the entertainment industry or possibly an artist, or like this person is a sculptor, and these people have come to collaborate because they have heard about the beautiful work, and look how beautiful that is. And they want to hire this person to work for them. Now, this is a beautiful position to be in. Quite often, this will say possibly that you've been in, training or an apprenticeship for something, and now you're ready to go out on your own. And it's like you have the certificate, you have the degree, you have whatever that is. And quite often, this can represent people in the entertainment industry, and someone that is doing something that's kind of off the, more unique, and something that not everybody can actually do, and that they are standing above the rest of the crowd when they're doing it. And so this energy is saying this is a beautiful position to be in, and congratulations for that. But you need to make sure that anyone you collaborate with is in alignment with your lifestyle and the way that you want your life to be, because if not, it can cause a lot of problems. And the history has so many people that have been in this position where they have signed contracts or agreements, not understanding the fine print. So the best thing you can do if you're in this position, like this might represent even like, say you're a really good athlete and these people are coming to, offer you maybe a scholarship at their college or university, and you have like maybe 4 or 5 options, and it's not always the one that has the most money that is the best one. Sometimes it's the one that offers that's most in alignment with how you want to live your life. And that maybe you have a certain affiliation with a coaching method or whatever that is. This could even be even further than that. Like now they're coming back to the college and it's pro teams scouting you and wanting you to come and play for their team. So, a lot of times pro athletes are on the road and, touring. And maybe you have a young family and you don't want your spouse to be alone somewhere across the world from her relatives. So you choose somewhere closer to home for that reason. And, maybe it doesn't pay as much, but it's more in alignment with your goals at that time. It's that type of energy. So it's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just something that, when you look at a lot of stories out there, particularly with actors and actresses and musicians and that, signing contracts and then being breadcrumbed and not being paid. Everybody else is making a lot of money, but they aren't. And so this is that energy. It's also talking about like, if you have a pet or an animal, make sure you are, if you take them to a veterinarian, that it's one that's in alignment with how you want, your animal to be treated, etc. It's that type of energy. Make sure that if you are signing a contract, that you have someone like a lawyer, and that's this energy here. It's someone who's a total expert in these contracts and agreements. If you purchase an animal from a breeder, quite often they'll have contracts if they're a responsible breeder, so that you have to have the dog spayed or neutered when it's a certain age, so that they know that you're not just purchasing it to breed animals and make money off them, or to use them in some other way that they don't want the animals they breed to be treated. And so that's a sign of a very responsible breeder, is someone that does that. But it's also like with your veterinarians and that, you want to make sure you pick someone that truly loves animals, because some people get into certain occupations just because, it's more for the money than, or they have more of a scientific interest than a love for animals, say, that type of energy. And it's really important that you do so, because even like the CIA back in the 60s, they had a program called the Acoustic Cat, where they used cats, and for 5 years they experimented on cats and got veterinarians to do this so that they could train them to be spies in the Cold War, And I was reading about this and I'm like, what? And they tortured these animals basically to do so. To figure out a way. And then they found out what anyone could tell them, like about 5 years later, $20 million down the toilet, that, cats don't have owners, cats have staff. And they couldn't make the cats do what they wanted them to do, no matter what they did to them. And so, it's just people who, abuse animals in that way, treat animals in that way, that's the low, how much lower can you go? And so this energy is saying, make sure that I guess this is about, if this is going to be about pets, make sure that you purchase from a reputable breeder, or better yet, that you go to, a shelter and find an animal there that needs rescuing. That's the more responsible way to do things. And, just moving forward in that way. So they're a beautiful gift for us, and they're and they rely on us. They're totally innocent, and they rely on us to make good decisions for them. And so don't be afraid if you are purchasing an animal, or going to a shelter and they have these rules. Those rules are to make sure that the animals have a good life. And so this is talking about the King of Swords energy is quite often representing people who are very good with their words. Again, this is thoughts. And so this here is meaning that you might need some legal advice or something may have happened. Make sure that you know what you're signing up for if you're signing up for it. It's worth paying for a lawyer to take a look at the paperwork for sure. That's what this is saying if you're making a decision. And the King of Swords energy is someone that's at the top of their game and in whatever profession they're in. And, you know, if this is politician energy, quite often politicians use words to be able to earn their living. And, you know, this would be someone like a president, a prime minister, or some sort of someone high up in the government. And doing that, you know, that are making the laws. So you would assume that they would be making strong laws to make sure that whatever occupation or whatever you're in, that there are laws and rules about how that's done. And also there can be, you know, this energy can represent people who are in the legal system, definitely someone who is, you know, lawyer energy. If this is a lawyer, it would probably be someone who's a partner in an established firm, maybe a head prosecutor, someone that is, you know, able, maybe in charge of making laws and, you know, high up in that energy. Also, this could be a best-selling author, someone that is on the bestsellers published, you know, bestsellers list, maybe, and possibly this energy could also be a researcher, someone that has found a cure for something. What else do we have here? Yeah, veterinarians, surgeons, dentists, psychiatrists. That all of that energy. So this is talking about people basically that are highly educated and they use their mind more than their, you know, physical body to earn their living. And so this may represent your energy, or this may be saying to you, if you have a difficult decision to make, whether that be for the, you know, purchasing a pet or whatever, do your homework, do your research. Make sure that any contracts you sign are, you know, in alignment with your lifestyle. And then we have the energy of this coming through, the Two of Cups. This card has been showing up a lot in my readings lately. This is a soulmate energy. This is someone that is beneficial to you. To meet. It's an agreement between souls to connect at some point in this lifetime. And it can represent a romantic love for sure, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes this can represent maybe the energy of, you know, really it could be anyone. It could be this lawyer, making sure that you don't make a big mistake, that type of energy. The soulmates are there to protect you, and you're there to protect them and keep each other on your destined paths. And moving forward in that energy. This is a healing energy as well. The Hermes symbol, it represents health matters, and also, you know, the laws around that kind of energy. So I guess, I don't know why this is coming up in this reading, but it's a random shift energy, so we're just going to go with it. What do you think, Stella? You're up and down being obnoxious. She says, no, I'm not. This is about animals and I'm making my point known. Okay, so this can talk about some sort of sabotage happening. This is not the best energy. This is talking about being stabbed in the back and left unalive. So this is talking about, sometimes this can represent a decade of energy. Sometimes it can represent 10 different people, or sometimes 10 groups of people. This is energy being directed your way to put you in a position where you can't, maybe they didn't want you to, this energy didn't want you to consult with an expert for whatever reason. Sometimes this energy could represent someone that you thought was a soulmate, or that you thought that they had their best interests, that was a companion you were with, and it didn't turn out because it's sitting on the 2 here. But we'll keep going and see here. Also, we have the Page of Wands. So this is talking about The wand energy is about elements, the element of fire, and it's made of wood, so it's feeding the fire. And this is about taking passionate action. And sitting on the King of Swords here, the King of Swords is very much aware that words can have the power to uplift people or to, take people down, basically, to be used as weapons. And this energy is saying, the King of Swords also knows that actions do speak louder than words. So if you give your word and then you don't follow it up with the correct action, your word becomes pretty much useless. The good thing about this card is it's saying that it is an end of a cycle happening. So I do feel like this energy might be that the soulmate comes in and then this energy is over. And now, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this is actually a blessing in disguise. The Hierophant, who's is responsible for bringing justice from the spiritual realm down to the physical, is in a position here, like with his right hand, showing that when his energy comes in, it's a blessing in disguise. And this person also has this energy here in his hand. So this is about having the passion to take action, get back up, get back into life, and look forward maybe to a journey with a soulmate. Maybe this is both. Maybe there was someone you thought was your soulmate, and then it turned out that they weren't. And then then a soulmate comes along and empowers you. So that's because that's the King of Swords energy, is knowing that any words that people speak can go in either direction, right? And this is the Page of Wands is definitely someone that is passionate about taking action. The pages would work for the king and the queen in the old days. They would start around the age of 7 to 14 years of age. And this energy would be like, it'd be a real coup to become a page. And 7 to 14 is very young, but you have to remember back then the life expectancy was like half of what it is now. And this would be a feather in his cap. This page is dressed to the nines. And, he had the pyramids in the background here represent a love of travel and learning about the world and being optimistic and enthusiastic. So I feel like if this soulmate comes along, they lift you up out of this energy, and they come into your life to make sure that you are back up on your feet again, which is awesome if you have someone like that coming into your life. And their responsibility would be communication. Mainly, that would be their main task within the palace walls. So this represents communication or some sort of information coming in, maybe about something that happened here. And this can be talking about, maybe in the old days, this energy would always be a male, and it would always be in-person communication. That was the only option they had. But this could be a female in her masculine energy, and just realize that any of the characters in the tarot are archetypes. And this is talking about the energy is more about masculine and feminine energy than gender specific. And also the information is not likely to come in just in person. These days, it could more likely be a phone call, a text message. Maybe you get a delivery in the mail, some sort of energy around that. You might be on social media and get a message, or perhaps you decide to go to an event that you see there, and then you run into someone in person and they have exactly the information you need, or perhaps you become passionate about each other, and the next thing you know, you realize, hey, this is my soulmate. One thing to remember, if it's soulmate energy, they are more than likely to be very different from the normal type that you would usually date. Quite often there'll be someone that it's kind of like someone very different, but when you begin talking to each other, you start to realize that you've had many events in your life happen to you, and both of you have had those kinds of experiences. And then we have the Two of Pentacles, or a Two of Wands. So this could be representing meeting someone and then you decide, okay, I'm ready to move on to distant shores, or maybe go on an adventure or a holiday or some sort of energy like that. And this is talking about maybe crossing the waters to do so. Sometimes this can represent energy of an entrepreneur that maybe wants to franchise and expand their business. This is basically saying, I have the world in my hands, but you live in a really small place. So this is saying, I'm a big fish in a little pond and I want to expand. Sometimes this could represent maybe making a solid commitment with someone after meeting them. That has empowered you to get back up on your feet after going through some really hard times. And maybe they live overseas or something, and so you're moving overseas. Or maybe this is just about expanding your horizons. And I feel like this is moving from the location where you're at. Sometimes that's what it can represent, but it doesn't have to. It can sometimes represent maybe taking your business in a slightly different way. Or maybe deciding, hey, I want to start a family now with someone, that type of decision. There's a lot of immature competition. This sometimes can represent sibling rivalry. The wands represent kind of this arguing between these adolescents. And so, think about narcissistic cheerleaders. This is when people haven't matured enough to recognize that competition is actually best used to learn from. And so, picture like narcissistic cheerleaders, grade 6 to grade 10. They want that trophy at the competition. And they can see another team is way better than them, but they don't care. They want to win it so bad. And if they don't succeed, their mothers will pull strings behind the scenes to do what it takes so that they do win that trophy. And this is kind of that immature competition, unfair competition. It is when, you realize as you become more mature that the competition is always within yourself, no matter what's going on. If you're looking for a trophy, or maybe it's a position at work or something like that, the best thing you can do is be the best version of you. And you can learn from the competition and be inspired by it. If you're even 1% better every time you go out to do something, that you do it 1% better than you did it the last time you were out there, this energy can go a long way, especially if the whole team decides to do that. At the next competition, you'd actually possibly win that trophy and totally deserve it, which would be a really great thing. It's really, really beneficial to learn from the competition and to be inspired by it. We have a breath of fresh air. So I feel like this energy is a breath of fresh air. It's kind of like it's time to make a change here. Definitely. I feel that energy is coming in. It's kind of like when you hold on really, really tight to someone or something you love, and then you find out like you have to let them go. Like this energy has kind of thrown me off a little bit. I wasn't really expecting to be talking about my dog. I let her go like back in 2016, and it's been 10 years, and this is 10 years later here. Isn't that interesting how, it makes me, when I look at it, it makes me want to cry. I miss her. Anyway, it's amazing how when I'm doing readings, how different energies come up. So I guess my dog wants to let me know she's good. She's in the mountains where she should be, having fun in the snow and spreading joy all around up there. And this is a breath of fresh air, this energy coming in. I haven't thought about her for so long, like for hours, and just about what a sweet little sweetheart she really was. And the Page of Swords energy is talking about that energy, like just a breath of fresh air, a real gift. And he's not looking at his element because he already knows what the logical question is. He's looking for a creative solution. So he's thinking outside the box and looking away from it. And the swords are double-edged, so it's talking about using your intuition and your logic. And this is, an energy of enthusiasm for fresh ideas. Sometimes this can be like an aha moment, or maybe someone's trying to reach you intuitively at this time to send you some love. That could be that type of energy. Well, look at the top here. My card, like this is kind of like, it's just a different reading. This is random. So this is about transition again. Maybe letting go of old pain from the past. Maybe talking about what really happened in the past, that type of energy. But the light at the end of the tunnel, again, you see that here. And this is talking about the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one with fresh energy. And so it's basically, I feel like saying, remember the good times that you've had with people and do your best to let go of, the negative. And everything has its time and everything has its place. And unfortunately, as beautiful as our pets are, like for dogs, for instance, we usually outlive them. And it's part of the responsibility of having a pet is having to say goodbye to them. It's part of it. I know there's a lot of people that, if you're watching this reading and you've had pets, you know what I'm talking about. It's so hard to let them go. And that is what this energy is talking about here. And we've got the young ones here, like this old person is saying, we don't want your change, get out of town. Can I give you money? What can I give you? Don't come through here. And the young children are saying, yeah, we want your change. One of them is even offering the Grim Reaper a flower. So this is generally this is not talking about an actual physical death. This is talking about systems changing, life being different, that there's cycles in life. And some cycles, whether it's about, a live animal or a relationship maybe that you have with someone, sometimes it's just time to let go and get on your path, and you will be rewarded for doing so and for having the courage to do so. So this is talking about feeling like you're trapped in a mental prison with a decision you don't want to have to make. And then, I don't know, it's really weird because this is talking about going away from where you are and across the waters. And that's basically, as I said, this was exactly to the day a year later after I left my dog that I left the jungle to go to Machu Picchu and go up to the mountains. And I think my dog is saying, I was there with you. Did you see me? And then this is talking about, learning from competition and recognizing that cycles end and new cycles begin. And, to approach it with this energy of enthusiasm. I feel like that's what this is saying. Have passion for life. It's hard to let go, but then you have to make room for the new. And this cycle is coming to an end. If you've been stuck in this kind of an energy, there is some relief coming your way. You're being rewarded for staying on your designated path as best as you can. This is a little bit longer of a reading than I usually do, but I guess it's meant to be. Maybe there's someone out there that is in this position right now. They have to make a decision about their pet. And so maybe this, if that is the case, a big energetic hug to you and lots and lots and lots of love. And know that your pet loves you. All right, this is here. These are, the numbers on these cards represent the paintings as they are on my website. And there's a gallery there with all the paintings in that. And these are the numbers of the paintings. I'll put them in the order they appear here so that you can look them up if you're interested in doing so. And it'll be in the description box below. So we do have strength, yes, and the integrity to be able to do what's right, if you see someone suffering or, it would be really challenging for me. I'd be really attached to a lot of the animals that, I'd know them for like 10, 15 years myself. when I was in that industry, and it would be really, really hard for me to pull someone aside and say, look, I really feel like this is like, it's important. So like, if there's an animal that is suffering and that it's suffering, it's kind to be able to do that. It takes a lot of strength to do it though, because it's really, it's not an easy thing to do. And then the falling star energy is about, falling and failing in love is a matter of I. So sometimes we have to learn to put ourselves first so that we can love ourselves enough to pull ourselves out of these situations maybe that we're in, get back. This North Star energy is right here saying, use your intuition, open your heart back up. It's hard. Like, I haven't had a dog since this one. I have cats, and that was hard too. But after this dog, I thought I do not want to have to be in that position again. And then the Chariot is talking about being on your North Star path and knowing that it's like a tank. It just takes you where you need to go. And whatever obstacles you come across, if you're on your destined path, God will reward you with beautiful gifts like, that you weren't expecting to receive. And then we have the throat chakra, having harmony within your words, being kind to animals, being kind to people. They're innocent. They deserve to be treated with the utmost respect. And the star energy coming in also saying, make sure that you allow yourself to shine. And, it's talking about letting go of the grief eventually, and being able to open your heart up to having new experiences when you've been stuck. And that's this hangman energy. So the hangman hangs from the tree of knowledge upside down, very similar to the hermit climbing the mountain for peace. And this energy is talking about, the surrender. And it's interesting because this card is talking about the energy. It's cold in here. There must be something in the atmosphere. And that was from a movie. I can't remember what it is right now. That my daughters used to watch a lot. I think I watched it 500 times about cheerleading. And but this is more like a psychic cleanse energy. So I feel like this is really interesting. Like this is talking about sometimes when your ancestors or loved ones are trying to reach you from across the veil, you'll maybe feel a cold breeze, and that sometimes can be them. And so I feel like, my dog wanted to say hello. Hello, little Ella. We love you. And okay, I'm going to end this reading. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you're in this position, just a big hug to you. Know that your animal loves you and that you're doing the right thing if that's the position you're in right now. All right. I am thankful for all the likes and comments and any subscribes. It's an honor when you do so. Bye for now.